Oh, look at that. It's Friday. We're back for another episode of The Cole Memo. Super excited for today's episode. Happy Friday again. Welcome to another live stream. Since we're live, feel free to drop a comment below. We might feature it on screen. We'll also be taking callers later in the show, so if you want to join the conversation, that's an option. No need to show your face if you'd rather not. It's super easy to hop on. And we've had plenty of listeners join in the past to share their thoughts. If you're catching this episode later and wondering how to tune in live, the best way is to head to colememo.com/YouTube and subscribe to my YouTube channel so that you never miss a stream. Today's episode is centered around a post I came across on social media. In fact, I made a video about it. Why don't we watch that video and to kick off the show? So here we go. This will give you some good background on what we're talking about today. Oh, that's funny. In order to see this post, I must be signed in. All right, well, okay. Give me just a second, folks. This is what happens when you do it live, you know. We will get this pulled up. I hope you're all having a great Friday. Mine has been better than the past few Fridays, and we'll talk about that briefly in just a moment. Let's do this. Again, my apologies for the little speed bump here on this live stream. Okay, let's see if this works. I don't think this is gonna work. Darn. We'll just, we'll just give back. We'll just talk about it here in a moment. In a moment, I'll be joined by a customer who experienced an issue at an adult use dispensary. But first, let me be candid with you. It's been about 2 weeks since I put out an episode on the public feed. And honestly, I've just been processing some personal stuff that's been weighing on me. I'll open up more about that in a future episode, or at least I plan to, with one of my closest friends. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, I've been sharing episodes over on Patreon. You can find them at colememo.com/Patreon. I'll be right back after this message.
Sun-Drenched Farm is the manifestation of my dream to be able to provide for my family through offering natural alternative forms of healing and wellness, the same forms that I've been so fortunate to experience on my journey in healing from Lyme disease. With in-house cultivation, solventless extraction, and final product manufacturing, we're able to offer the highest quality product that you can find now at sundrenchedfarm.com.
All right. Once again, we are live. It looks like we've got one of our first comments. Once again, since we are live, you can drop your comments. We'll display them on screen. Somebody says, "What's going on, Cole?" Not much, Gabriel. Happy Friday. I just mentioned that I have been sharing episodes over on Patreon. One of the episodes that I've released features an interview with a smoke shop manager who sells sex supplements, kratom concentrate known as 7-hydroxy, hemp-derived cannabinoids, a snortable stimulant called booger sugar, pills mimicking Adderall, and something called gas station heroin. I also sat down with Senator Ventura, who introduced a bill to prevent law enforcement from stopping, searching, or charging someone with a Class A misdemeanor based solely on the smell of cannabis. And soon, I'll be releasing an episode with a woman who works to block or even roll back cannabis legalization in some states. Definitely an eye-opening conversation. It's always fun to have conversations with people that I disagree with. More episodes are on the way, so again, that's colememo.com/Patreon. It's just $3 a month, and to become a member, and quick heads up, if you're on an Apple device, I recommend signing up from a computer or a non-Apple device. Apple, I've recently found out, adds extra fees on top of what I feel is my very fair price of $3 a month, which isn't ideal, but hey, big tech always wants their cut. Am I right? We'll be right back after another message. Is there any crazy stories?
Nothing too crazy for me. Somebody came in recently and asked me to pee in a cup. It's Cole Preston. This is Bella's Hacienda. It's a licensed brothel in the state of Nevada. Let's go inside.
I just like stood in the shower and peed in the cup.
And that's it?
Yeah.
So they said, so
I just want to see you pee in the cup.
And did they ask for the cup or?
You can watch my entire series on the legal sex industry as it exists today in Nevada at colememo.com/sex. All right, we're back. Yeah, and by the way, another one of the episodes that I will be releasing is with a former licensed sex worker and a current licensed sex worker. So if that crazy topic sparks your interest, there is another episode available at colememo.com/Patreon and another one on the way. And all of these episodes will eventually go up for free on our public feeds, but if you'd like early access, become a member at colememo.com/Patreon. This show is brought to you by listeners like you, so if Patreon's not your thing, you can make a one-time contribution at colememo.com/support, and if you can't support financially, that's totally fine. One of the best ways to support and to help this show is by smashing that like button, sharing the show with your friends, or leaving a positive review from wherever you're listening from. So it's time that we bring on our cannabis customer who noticed this unusual glitch for another episode of
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memorandum.
The Cole Memo.
The Cole Memo is what allows this whole thing to go on.
I mean, you have to respect the memo.
Hey, this is Tommy Chong, and you're listening and watching The Cole Memo.
Okay. And in all that time, I was trying to get this Instagram video up, and I think I just got it. So why don't we just watch the video really quick, and then we'll bring on our cannabis customer that's joining me today. This will give a little bit of background, and then we'll dive right into it, let them share their own perspective. Here's the video. Sorry for the technical difficulties on that. Bought myself some time with our little ads. Oh, and the sound's not on, We're doing it live. Here we go. So earlier today, I saw a post where someone claimed they visited an adult use dispensary, but their purchase was deducted from their medical allotment. I'll share the receipt in a moment, but I keep coming back to this because I didn't even think this was possible, legally or technically. I assumed, maybe incorrectly, that business licenses were somehow tied to software licenses, and I mean, sure, this could just be a glitch in their point of sale system, but if the receipt is accurate, this actually happened. And if it can happen, why aren't we just allowing it to happen? Remember, curbside pickup wasn't allowed by law either, but we issued a temporary variance that eventually became permanent without needing new legislation. Yet, here we are being told that in order to let medical patients shop freely at any dispensary, we need a legislative fix. And maybe we do. Maybe it's a legal formality to avoid lawsuits from operators, but still, it feels ridiculous. If this is technically possible, and it looks like it is, why aren't we just allowing this to happen? I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Did you know this could happen? Drop your comments below. Here's the receipt. All right, so without further ado, I will bring on the customer and put ourselves on screen. Dude, how's it going?
Not good. How are you today?
Did you just said not good, or
not bad, not terrible,
okay,
not worse. I could probably move that mic up right there. Just a little stiff, kind of sore, like we talked about when we first jumped into the chat together. I ironically was just looking up my first receipt when this happened, and I plan on doing this and finishing this product that I bought the first time this happened as soon as we get done with this podcast, because my back, like we said, the barometric pressure and stuff right now, I got nerve tendon issues and things. So on January 1st of this year, ironically, I went and bought a infused Epsom salt, because I love that for when I get achy and pains like this. I don't know if I had COVID then, but I was extremely, extremely sick. And I know one other time that when I had COVID a few years back, that infused Epsom salt helped the achiness get right out of my bones. So when I left that day on New Year's Day, I looked at my receipt and it looked different than a recreational receipt. On the bottom of it, it looked like a medical receipt. And I wondered why. At the bottom of it, it said starting allotment 70.07 grams. And underneath it said remaining allotment 69.07 grams. And I purchased that at New Era Recreational Dispensary in East Dubuque, Illinois, shortly after they opened. I was impressed with the sales system that they used. They turned their little pad thing around and you could see it. You could see everything on the screen, the discounts and stuff. Yep, right there. I didn't notice that, so I gave them now that wasn't like on the screen when I was looking at the products. I gave them my medical card with my medical patient number on it, my information to sign up for the rewards program, because that's the only way they'll give you discounts. With that, they put it into their system. I did the sale. They gave me my receipt. I went home, and that's when I discovered that. I called New Era and asked them what was going on. The first manager that I talked to told me that they were a medical dispensary. I quickly informed him they haven't opened a new medical dispensary in Illinois since 2019, and no, you're not. Then he tried to tell me that the discount they gave was through them, and since they gave us a discount, they could deduct from my medical allotment. No, you can't. That's not how it works. I don't know who told you that. I wish you would just go with maybe the customer is maybe right from the start and backpedal, say, I'm not sure, sir. We're going to look into this and we'll get back to you. So I had to raise a fuss with them. I spoke with a professional in the business. I called a medical dispensary and I checked what my current allotment was after purchasing at a recreational dispensary. I live an hour and 20 minutes away from the nearest medical recreational dispensary. That's not a fun drive. That takes half an afternoon or a morning out of your day. So I take advantage of getting a medical discount and a veteran discount in the area and not have to make this drive for like one product. I called the medical dispensary. They verified to me that that's what my allotment was sitting at. And I called back to New Era and disputed it. I didn't get a direct answer out of it, but they sure asked me to take down my customer reviews and complaints after they fixed it. They apologized and they put my allotment back, and they did give me a promo comp, which wasn't needed. I just wanted my allotment back and to let you know that you're faulting patients. So Tuesday night, I went to the other dispensary that just opened up in town that just came to the state.
And before we get to that, I don't mean to cut you off, but no, it's okay. I want to give some background in case people are tuning in and don't even know what the hell we're talking about and why this is significant. Okay. So, medical patients, and you know this since you are one, but maybe people that are tuning in don't, are allowed to purchase 2.5 standard. You can get your allotment increased, but the standard card, let's call it out of the box, allows you to purchase 2.5 ounces every 14 days. And so, unlike, so you're not as limited per, I guess, 14 days as an adult use customer. I would say the difference between an adult use customer and a medical patient is that you do have a hard limit of those, 2.5 ounces or whatever your allotment is in that 14-day time stretch, versus an adult use customer who could hypothetically go to every store in the state and purchase, their maximum 30 grams, 500 milligrams, 5 grams of concentrate. And so, the big complaint, and just correct me if I'm wrong here, and then I'll let you pick up where you left off. The reason we're talking about this is because, again, you went to an adult use dispensary and this was counted against your medical allotment, which I didn't even think was possible. And I think the other thing I just want to color in for our listeners is, maybe people might be wondering, first of all of this sounds silly, and I agree. They might be wondering, why couldn't you take your medical card and go to any dispensary? And that's the big question. As you said when you started off, there are only 55 in the state. There have only been 55 medical dispensaries since 2015, 2016, or you might even say 2014 when the program officially started. But the point is that, yeah, there are only 55 of what they call dual license dispensaries or dual license facilities, I believe. And so what that means is that you can not only purchase medical cannabis, as you know, but you could also purchase adult use cannabis. So there has been legislation to make it so that you can go to any dispensary as a medical patient, but it's not even come close to passing from what I've read and from what I understand, and it's still something that's being pushed for, allowing medical patients to shop anywhere. But as it stands today, that's not the case. And so this was super interesting to me, and this is why I wanted to bring you on, because you went to an adult use dispensary, and from what this receipt showed, and you even, as you said, you went to your twice, 2 different dispensaries. But what I found interesting, because I was like, well, maybe this is just a glitch. You're saying you went to a medical dispensary and confirmed, no, this did take off my allotment, correct?
We could call a medical dispensary from my phone right now. We could call Mylan Nature's Treatment if you wanted. And I would have to mute when they verify my information, but I could get them to tell us over the phone what my current allotment is. And it's not what we have on screen right now, but I just called the dispensary Fulton 5 minutes before I joined you on the podcast to verify what my allotment is on March 21st as of right now, and it's still at 68.75 grams, which is what it sat at after I shopped at Bridge City Collective the other day.
Gotcha.
So to get back to where you left off about with the state allotments and the difference between medical and recreational also is at a medical facility, the prices are a little bit lower, and there isn't a highest tax rate on that products that we purchased there.
Yeah, I would say that is the big difference. When you go to a medical dispensary, you're charged at a 1% tax rate. And that's another thing I found notable about your situation. So they took off your allotment, but you still paid the adult use tax rate.
Both times.
Both times. Now, again, I just find this interesting because, and I'll let you get back to the story here, but again, I've talked to people from the state. I've talked to people in the business. Like, for example, I've had people that own dispensaries on the show in the past, and I've been like, hey, I know that technically the law says, and everybody's saying that you can't sell to a medical patient, but like, couldn't you just like check them in and just like do it anyways? Like, I'm sure you have access to that system. And they've always told me, no, we can't. And so that's really why I brought you on today, because even though this may have been a mistake, and it seems like it was, they can, which begs the question, like I said in the video at the beginning, it's like, why don't we just do this?
I don't know if it's a software designers bullshitting them or didn't realize that it's possible, but it's talking.
Yeah, I've heard that it was a software thing.
Yeah. And I believe they're both using the same software system. Both dispensaries are using a newer software system, whereas the other one in town is using an older cash handling, the BioTrack system. So whatever these newer ones are using, they don't realize the duality is actually connecting.
Yeah. So you were about to, before I got in and tried to fill in all those details, you were saying that, so you talked about the first time that this happened. You said it happened to you again. Do you want to tell that story?
Absolutely. So we had another dispensary that came into town. Competition's always healthy. It's good to see a broad market with a great variety of things, but I went down there on this past Tuesday night. I love rosin. I'm a big fan of cleaner products. I wanted to try one of the newer, smaller craft grows in the state and take advantage of their new promos and discounts. So I did the same thing again, joined up for the rewards, gave them my medical card information and went in. Fairly slow night. Got the product, was talking to them. just a little bit, and didn't even notice because, I didn't think it was a thing. I didn't look at the receipt when they handed it to me, but she highlighted the 3 different items that they gave me. And I noted that they gave me their medical discount, because they give a medical 30% discount, but I didn't even catch down at the bottom where they show them medical allotments. Right there flagged me when I was out in my truck, and I was like, damn it, they did it again. And I could see their screen on their tablet on their ordering, where, as you're standing there as a customer, and their order system seemed familiar, like New Era's was. And then when I got out to the truck and saw that, 2 and 2 makes 4 to me, called another medical dispensary and asked them what my allotment was at that time. And they told me. So I called the dispensary that I visited, Bridge City, and was pretty much told they didn't know what I was talking about. That wasn't what was going on. The receipt was not a big deal. Don't pay attention to it. No, you're not right, because I verified this through the state the last time it happened, and they didn't want to listen to me. So I made a Facebook post about it, or a comment on their thing, and I got called a liar, and they blocked me. So now I'm really furious, and I called into work. Well, I took a little bit of personal time Wednesday morning, and drove to a medical dispensary and made a 10 milligram ginger ale purchase, verified what my medical allotment was sitting at with a printed receipt, and then asked them again. They verified it with the general manager of the medical dispensary. And then on my way home, I called a different medical dispensary who has no idea who I am or what the situation was, and asked them what my medical allotment was at. I also called 5 minutes before we started this and verified again, and I'm still sitting at 68.75 grams in my medical allotment. When this happened with New Era, they're at least kind enough to comp me, apologize, and put the allotment back. What really aggravates me is I've reached out to these people in numerous ways, and they don't seem to care. They've now fixed it, because I know someone else that is a medical customer or patient in Illinois and shopped there yesterday, and their receipt looks totally different. She called a medical dispensary to verify what her allotment was at, and her allotment is full, because she lives in the same town as I do and doesn't drive as often, but she likes her home grow, and we do get a 30% discount. So it compensates for not having to waste a whole afternoon just to drive to go shop for cannabis.
Yeah, I found it interesting, and I just want to say again, we're live right now, so you can comment below and we can display your comments. Miggy 420 from Cannabis Legalization News says, we're closer to having a store. I'll know more of the system in 6 months to tell you and maybe champion with you for good medical policy. I appreciate that. They also asked, who runs the Illinois medical program? Not the IDFPR, is it? So the medical program is technically under IDPH, but all dispensaries are under IDFPR. But anyways, back to some of the things that you said, and keep those comments coming in, folks. I just found it surprising. I didn't know that they could undo your allotment. Like, I wonder if they had to contact the state for that, or how that worked.
It. I'm not sure. And a lot of times it doesn't add up, it seems, the allotment part. Like, my receipt says 68.84, but their program right now says 68.75. They play with those numbers, like on concentrates and stuff, when it's like 91% or something. They'll only take out 91. It's not always 100 milligrams or 50 milligrams.
Right. And I was about to say that you buy like a cartridge, or in my experience, at least, if you buy a cartridge, like a gram cartridge, you would think, well, that would take a gram off of my allotment. And I used to know the formula for this. It would be like, there's like a formula where you could actually tell how many grams it would take off of your allotment. I've lost it. I've been trying to find it so long, But it's like, and maybe somebody can figure out if I just put this out there. And if you do, please message me.
How
Because I'd
about
love, what's that?
just make common sense in cannabis reform nationwide?
Yeah, I agree. But
Way too difficult.
I just wanted to say to your point, like I've bought like a gram of RSO in the past and it'll take like 6
Oh.
grams off of my allotment. And I'm like, what the fuck? I bought a gram.
Yeah, well, it might have been one of your posts that people were talking about that in the Chillinois podcast about how much the FSHOs and things are taking off of people's allotments or your daily limit, even at a recreational shop, that it doesn't always match up.
Yeah, it's crazy stuff. So somebody commented, I thought the allotment was daily. The medical allotment is by 2 weeks, and it's interesting. It's like from the day you purchased it. So let's say I purchased 14 grams today. I would get those 14 grams back on April 4th, which is 2 weeks from today. So I would say that maybe what you're asking about, Wanamama Delights, is certain like adult use dispensaries will try to cap a person at a daily limit using their point of sale system. So like they might put in Cole Preston bought his daily allotment today, so I wouldn't be able to go back in. Some people call looping. I wouldn't also be able to go to another one of their chains because their point of sale systems talk to each other. I would, however, be able to go to a second or a different dispensary. So like in the case of what you're talking about, you went to a New Era, and then I could go to the dispensary in Fulton, which that's the name of the dispensary, by the way. Pretty funny, the dispensary. And I could purchase 60 grams in a day, hypothetically. That's not legally allowed, I should say. Not that I ever give legal advice on here because I'm not a lawyer, but I just wanted to make sure that that's clear. So
I don't understand. This also kind of proves that there's a way they could have the program that's going to tell, I would think, the entire state that you've already shopped recreationally in a day. If that's what they're trying to do.
Well, I would say the only thing getting in the way of that is that the Illinois adult use law doesn't allow people to retain any personal info. So,
well, we're far from keeping people from shopping at more than one place then, unless it is within the same chain, like you said, and you're checking in with your rewards.
Right. Yeah. So, super interesting. But yeah, this person actually makes the big point that I think. So it's nice to learn, in a weird way, it was nice to learn that this is technically possible. Because again, I always was under the impression that there was like a technical, besides the fact that there was a legal barrier, I was under the impression that it was, like I told you, I've talked to people from dispensaries and they say, no, this is technically not possible. Even if we wanted to do it, we couldn't. Well, you've experienced at multiple dispensaries that you can. So it's good to know that there's no technical barrier, but as you experienced, I would say the legal barrier at this point is allowing you to get that 1% tax everywhere.
Yeah.
You know, and they weren't able to do that, it sounds like, for you at any of these adult use. They'll give you that discount or whatever, you know, the medical discount to try to offset the taxes,
and that's always appreciated.
Absolutely.
You know, I appreciate every discount I get. I get pretty decent discounts at veteran discount at almost any dispensary we go to, which is always super appreciated. It was just the experience of it and the arrogance of just trying to bring up that there's a problem with the system. I don't want any comp for it. I don't care about for a pre-product. Put my allotment back if you can and fix your system. Don't mess up other people's things.
Yeah. And obviously there's no excuse for a business to do that. I just can't help but wonder, just playing devil's advocate, if you will, if they were just like, because if you think about it, what you are saying happened is illegal, but on their part, you know what I mean? So they're quick to be like, no, that's not possible. We didn't do that. And it's like, look, it's a mistake. I'm not trying to get you in trouble necessarily. Like,
well, that's where good customer service comes in too, where you should just be, I'm not really, I technically don't have the answer. I assume that it's not supposed to happen that way, but technically when you answer the phone that way, it should just be, I'm apologize. we'll look into it and we're going to get back to you.
Yeah. And, you know, I don't mean to bring up any bad feelings or whatever, but I personally saw that when you brought this up in the community, how people were quick to call you, you know, a liar and stuff. And it's like, you were just trying to share information about what happened to you.
That was a little disheartening. The Reddit post, I got personal messages to me from private accounts on Reddit that have never posted, never commented on other things. I couldn't see anything about their profile. One of them told me, called me out on some personal things, not even connected to this situation. And I found that appalling that so many people would jump on board assuming that they knew how the system worked, or defending the system wouldn't screw a patient up like that, instead of, oh, hey, possibly this did happen.
Yeah. Somebody in the audience asked a question, and I just want to reiterate, we are live, so if you drop your comments below, we can be sure to display them on screen and answer them. We can also take callers at colememo.com/live. The lines are open. It's super easy to join. Once again, colememo.com/live. You don't have to show your face or anything. You can just join, and simple tap of a button on colememo.com/live on whatever device you're on, and you can join the show and tell us what you're thinking about this or ask any questions, whatever else. Somebody asked, is this a result of the switch to metric? And I don't think I can answer this question with 100% confidence or certainty, but I will say that as far as I'm concerned, this switch hasn't started yet. I will say that I believe I released a statement from the state that said the switch is expected to be completed this summer. I think yesterday was the first day of spring. So maybe they've started on it. It's possible this is a result of that, but I will just say that I had multiple people comment and say that this seems to be an issue related to a specific point of sale system. I don't have.
Yeah.
It
happened the first time it happened on January 1st too. So,
January 1st. Gotcha. Yeah. So even longer. So yeah, I don't necessarily think it's a result of that. I do, like, out of just this, I think you'll understand why I'm asking this question. So please do not take it the wrong way. One of the comments that I saw, somebody said, well, you work at another dispensary. Are you just trying to talk shit on this dispensary? Can you address that? Just because I feel like I have to ask you that question.
Yeah, I have no problem with that. I work at the dispensary East Dubuque. We were the first dispensary in East Dubuque up in this part of the state. We've been there probably, I think, going on 4 years. I was one of the original managers and a bud tender there, so I'm very familiar with the system and how the system works. I'm very familiar with recreational receipts, limits, not limits. And as far as addressing that, I have no problem with competition. Like I said, I welcome healthy competition, but it's also a company that's come to town bragging that they're a local dispensary. Yeah, you're local now that you're here, but you're owned by a company out of Oregon who's also expanded halfway across, well, actually all the way across the country. The Bridge City Collective owns 4 dispensaries, 2 out west, 1 here, and 1 out east. When you dip your hands into too many frying pans and don't pay attention, you're going to burn your fingers by not paying attention to everything. It happened at New Era. New Era is an in-state dispensary. From what I know, they only work in Illinois, and they do have a few multi-functional dispensaries, or whatever they call them, recreational and medical.
Right.
And when they came into town, they were using, I believe, the same point of sale system. What we use at our dispensary is an ordering system, the same as you would do if you did an online ordering. And then our cash handling part that works with the state is totally separate, and it's the old school one. I like to tell a lot of customers around my age that our computer system can be so slow sometimes that you're going to see a covered wagon come across it, like the Oregon Trail, because it's been that long since it was updated. And I believe it's a glitch in the newer systems that they're using, the software system, because at no point do they go back into that BioTrack system. Everything they use is like a Microsoft web page kind of based thing. And you can see little tabs right underneath there to switch medical and medical and recreational, two little tabs like you would if you want to switch from one account to another on your Facebook page or something. I'm not trying to call out another dispensary about anything. I voiced my opinion about what they did when they first came to town, and I've even private messaged the owner of it. I'm not trying to cut down anybody's business. We have our own business. We have customers that have been loyal to us for a long time. I am very honored and blessed to work in the same neighborhood that I grew up in and started consuming cannabis years ago in. I graduated in this neighborhood. I am a third generation veteran, fourth generation of my last name in this city and county. And my grandfather started an American Legion in Scales Mound years ago back in the day. I have a lot of roots to this area. I love being able to be a 52-year-old grandfather that works in that dispensary and takes care of all the people that I work with. They're like my children and my grandchildren to me. Some of them patients that come in there, I've seen an amazing amount of vast majority of different patients come in there uneducated about cannabis, but all open-minded to it and super curious to find out about how edibles work, or maybe a vape at night, or maybe just a little bit of flower or a new flower. The amount of old people, senior citizens that have been coming in and out of there just to get edibles is amazing me. It's been a blessing to be able to work there and teach people and teach the people that I work with. We work very well together to help everybody around there. Our dispensary is going to be adopting the highway and cleaning up the highway and the litter from the people that have been coming out of state and probably just tossing crap out the windows around the community. I'm not just picking on another dispensary. I want you to come to our state. I want you to respect our laws and our systems and the way things work. And we'll work together to make this a great cannabis community the right way.
And I'm just curious, did you share this? Like, I would have shared it if it happened to me, because I didn't think it was possible, like I said, but did you really share this because like you were just trying to be helpful, and that they were you're saying they were kind of like an asshole to you about it, like basically called you a liar? And
I wasn't friendly with them when they first came to town, because when they first came to town, like I said, we're in the tri-state area. I live right on the Mississippi River. We're right next to Dubuque, Iowa. Dubuque, Iowa, and Iowa in general has not been nice to cannabis nor hemp. There's a lot of people that are getting possession charges in Dubuque, Iowa, but that's Iowa. And I don't take my cannabis to Iowa. I don't travel out of my house very much with cannabis. That's the kind of the way it goes. I'm more of a homebody. But when this dispensary also came to town, and I appreciate it, I'm a veteran. I'm a third generation veteran. They came on their grand opening day. They donated to a local American Legion. Thank you very much for that. I told them thank you very much for that. But they donated to an entity that's out of Dubuque, Iowa. I was not legal. I was not trying to be legal. I was being stupid about being legal. I would have appreciated to a veteran entity in Illinois to support local, to support this county. We don't have an American Legion or a VFW in East Dubuque, something I'm working on, or have other things in mind as well, because there's a huge veteran community that can benefit from cannabis, but they don't know about it as much. I want to tell them about it in the area. I kind of lost track of my thought on that one, but
okay.
It's just been a pleasure to serve the community and get it to here to pay attention to where you're coming in the community, because we have Wisconsin right there that's kind of close on legalizing, but we have Iowa right there that's not even close. And we're a small little town in Illinois trying to teach everybody. But if we don't support what we're doing in Illinois and try to educate Iowa, we're just wasting our time in our own little city.
Yeah. Brief tangent here for a moment. It's probably better not to travel with cannabis in Illinois, because as we've been writing about, and as I released an episode with a senator that is trying to make it so that you can travel with cannabis in your vehicle without worry of being arrested for simply purchasing a cannabis product. You can literally get charged with a Class A misdemeanor just for having a cannabis product in your car if it's not odor proof, which of course there's no such thing, especially when you consider that they're talking about using dogs, which to law enforcement's, according to law enforcement's own testimony that I shared, dogs have, and I feel like this is common knowledge, dogs have a 10,000 to 100,000 times the sense of smell as humans. So yeah, kind of messed up. If people want to read more about what I'm referring to, like I said, first of all, I just released an episode on on my Patreon channel. It'll be coming out to YouTube and everything very soon, but it's available at colememo.com/Patreon now. I sat down with the senator that's trying to change this law. In the meantime, if you want to read more about it, I've got this article on colememo.com. The headline is Criminal Law Committee in the Illinois Senate votes to advance bill to ban vehicle searches based on the smell of cannabis. Like I say, right now it's the top story at colememo.com, so you can see it there at the top. It's a good read. It's got the testimony from law enforcement and a lot of other information. Right now, this has not moved. A lot of people have been asking me about this. It was supposed to go through the House committee before it could go to the House for a vote. Of course, it's got to pass both the House and the Senate, and then it would go to Governor Pritzker's desk. But last I heard, it's not moved. As far as I understand, today is the deadline for bills to get through committees. So I really don't know what the future holds, but people stay tuned for that. And in the meantime, like I say, you can read this article or go to colememo.com/Patreon to watch my interview with the senator. Somebody said, I want to get back to this comment in a moment, but people are saying, damn, bro, the more you talk about this, the more it pisses me off you've been treated this way. And people are saying it's fucked up that you've seen flacked by just pointing out a flaw. And that's really what I wanted to bring you on today. Like you already said, but I just want to reestablish it. My intent in having this conversation is not to even point out, I was like really agnostic of who the dispensary was owned by or anything else. That really doesn't matter to me. What matters to me is that as a medical patient, you got these purchases deducted off of your allotment. And it only matters to me because I found it interesting. Again, I didn't think it was technically or legally possible, but also that's like wrong. If you purchase from an adult use dispensary as an adult use customer, it should not be counted against your limited medical allotment. And maybe this is a good transition to this other question we got. They said, I think you can up your allotment. You just have to email them. I think somebody doubled theirs before, I believe. Yes, I've gotten my allotment increased. It's actually a process that you go through with your physician, or at least when I went through it, that's what I had to do.
That's still the same. I just haven't done that. I grow my own. That has been amazingly therapeutic for me. That's something I hope in the future to be able to have in my area, teaching other veterans about growing, and even just the community in general. I thought about upping my allotment, but I work at a dispensary. I kind of grow my own, so I haven't felt the need to go through the process yet. But yeah, anybody, I don't know. There might be. You'd probably know better if you have to have certain specifics for it or not. It was
for the allotment increase, you mean?
Yeah.
I mean, I would just say if people are considering it. No, I mean, I don't think so. I think what I would just tell people is to be prepared to explain why you want an allotment increase to your physician. And I'll give you an easy excuse if you're looking for it. And it's something we already mentioned. If you purchase a lot of RSO or vapes or full spectrum hash oil, that takes off more from your allotment. And therefore, and I have actually had this happen to me. Like when I was I'm still a med patient, but when it was only medical, I was like buying a lot of vapes. And I went there once and they're like, you've gone through your allotment. And I was like, there's no way I've bought 2.5 ounces worth of vapes. And they're like, well, and that's when they explained to me for the first time that, you know, vapes hit your allotment different. I do want to mention something that I've written about in the past. The headline at colememo.com is State of Illinois clarifies homegrown medical cannabis possession, no set limit, provided it's, quote, secured. I've talked about this for a while, but I finally just decided, fuck it, I'll reach out to the state. And I asked them, because I was under the impression that Illinois was what some people call a keep what you grow state. In other words, you know, some people might wonder, I'll pass this over to you here in a second, but some people might wonder, well, my card says I can only have 2.5 ounces. Does that mean I could only grow and keep 2.5 ounces? According to the state and according to the law, at least from what I understand and have been told, no. Just again, and that's why the headline says provided it's secured. I recommend you all to go to coldmemo.com and read this article. You can, for all intents and purposes, keep what you grow. That's why I'm calling it that. You know, there is no limit. And having said that, and I'll pass this back over to you, I have heard of people that have gotten in trouble as medical cannabis patients for having too much cannabis, which I just think is insane in and of itself, that we even have possession limits, that all of this shit, like, because it's like, you think about alcohol, and the only thing that's stopping me from going and filling up my car with as much alcohol as I can fit in my car is money, like you just were saying with your hand. But also, like, just logistical size of my car. Like, if I buy too much alcohol and can't fit it, like, the point is nobody's going to tell me you're buying too much alcohol or buying too much cigarettes or buying too much anything like that. Maybe we were talking about this before the show. I don't know if this is what you're referring to, but one of the first times I ever went to a legal cannabis state, I was like, I want an ounce of that. I want some of those edibles. I want some, and they were like, cut me off. They're like, whoa, you're already over your limit. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about, my limit? I brought a bunch of fucking cash here to a legal fucking state, and I thought I was going to go like Sam's Club, buy in bulk, you know, buy a bunch of fucking weed.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Anyways, forgive me for the little rant there. But
No way. I see that a lot sometimes too when you get first time customers in there. But I got, there's some states they'll let you roll in and out, but that would be cool to be able to go in and just buy kind of what you wanted. As a medical patient and as a home grower, I've pretty well set up my grow area. I have locks on my doors. I have locks on where I keep my flour, my small bulk flour. I have a closet with just where I keep my cured things and dry stuff in. I smoke in my room, but I have a grow tent in the room. I have ventilation for that, and I have airtight sealed the door to this room also. And then there's no return air in this room that circulates through the rest of my house. I try to stay as follow the tea as much as I can, but I've also learned through a little research recently, and I knew this one, but you can legally gift cannabis in Illinois. But they have changed that, and they have put it in the law where it's not like Washington, D.C., where you can buy $25 t-shirt and get an eighth of weed for free, is the way they were doing it there. You can legally give somebody cannabis, but a medical patient, as far as myself, I'm not allowed to gift any of my grown cannabis. I can only consume it and use it at home or take it to a private function at somebody else's house, transporting it within the way Illinois says you should transport. I think they changed it to where you have to stay within your I think carry limits. Is there a carry limit?
it's really hazy, to use a cannabis term. It's really vague for me. I would say, to be safe, you might stay under the 30 grams, even though you're like, well, but I can buy 2.5 ounces from a dispensary. Why can't I carry 2.5 ounces? Yeah, I would, like I say, if people are listening right now, I'd be careful. I would even put it in a dispensary container. It's just like, it's going to make, it's going to make your trip easier. Like law enforcement might, if you put it in a mason jar, for example, they might try to be like, oh, this is black market cannabis, blah, blah, blah. So it might just make your trip easier if you're going to be traveling with cannabis. And I know some of you that home grow never go to the dispensaries. Respect. I understand. But maybe just get a dispensary container or something that looks like it. You don't have to go to the dispensary. Maybe just, there's plenty of containers you can buy online that fit the look and feel and requirements of a dispensary container. And once again, quick plug, colememo.com. I worked with the state of Illinois to update their website on gifting. So basically, like I said, I worked with them. I just noticed that it had been on their website in the past, because I talk about this subject sometimes, and then it disappeared. And so I reached out and I said, where'd the gifting thing go? And actually, this is when they fulfilled the promise. If I go to this window, this is when I reached out to them and said, hey, is gifting legal? Because I'm not seeing it on your website. And they explained it. So if the headline for that is exclusive. State of Illinois confirms gifting of cannabis is legal. But like you said, provided that it's purchased from a store, basically.
Yeah.
So
I laughed pretty hard when I read that the other day.
here's what they say. Age matters. Possession or use by those under 21 years old is still illegal. So if you're going to gift somebody, don't be giving it to kids. It must be a gift. In other words, purely non-commercial. You can't use gifts to promote sales. This is for businesses. You should be mindful of possession limits. And like you already mentioned, patients that are growing their own cannabis, they may grow up to 5 plants, but seeds may not be given or sold to any non-qualifying patients. And medical cannabis patients cannot gift their cannabis or cannabis products that you cultivate, for lack of better words. So again, folks, some of this content I've been trying to work with the state of Illinois to try to give some of it, I'm just trying to share information, trying to make sure that some of these questions that you just asked, like, again, some of it's still a little hazy and some of this they won't answer. And you'll see that if you check out some of the articles that I share, there are certain questions where they don't provide a direct answer to. But it's like, I'm just trying to give people guidance so that we can stay out of trouble. That's really not only know the answers, but most importantly, I don't want people to get in trouble. I really don't want people to get in trouble because they shouldn't be for this anymore.
You are a amazing wealth of information, Cole. And what you don't know, you dig hard to find out, man. Right back at you. I've been following you probably since COVID days when I was stuck in a basement with not much to do and looking into just when I just got my medical card and stuff. And it's been a pleasure. I've learned a ton from you and people that you've helped educate, man. So I appreciate the opportunity to speak about this and that you picked it up off of Chillinois. And I didn't even realize that it was you that was, commenting. So good job on that incognito profile you got.
I don't know how incognito it is. I post my own stuff all the time, but I think maybe if you're looking at the name, you might be like, who the fuck is this guy? Yeah. So we're getting a lot of comments in. I'll display them here in a moment, but I want to give the Instagram people some love. So because it's harder to show their comments on the stream. So if you are tuned in on Instagram and you want me to be able to actually display your comments, come on over to the YouTube feed. Somebody said they spoke with a former ISP canine cop, and he said there's no such thing as odor proof. I love it. Yep, sounds exactly like what I thought. They said dogs will always be able to smell through all of our secrets to try and hide the smell. Yeah, of course, right?
Well, what about one of them like Harbor Freight gun cases that you?
This is a good point because, and I'm glad you brought this up. People bring this up all the time. They'll say, well, if you Google odor-proof container, you do get results. And what I would say to that is there are containers that are better at mitigating cannabis odor. So it might be odor-proof for a while, but one of the things I mentioned, I don't believe it was in my article, the first article that I plugged about the Senate committee and with the cops and canine testimony, but I believe in the episode that I did for that article, I mentioned that one of the examples that the cops gave was that if you blow a candle out, for example, this is the example they gave. You blow a candle out and you put a top on that candle, which this was a weird example, but this is the example that the cops gave, that eventually smoke will seep out of that container. And basically, I mean, they didn't say this, but no, there's no such thing as an odor-proof container. And if people want to see me talk through that and talk about my testimony that I gave through police, which was definitely an uncomfortable position to be in, sitting in a room full of cops. Talk about adrenaline. But yeah, episode 172, if people want to check that out. Crazy shit. But you got to put yourself out there sometimes if you're going to try to fight the good fight. So some other comments have come in. They say, Cole, yes, the original intent. I'm guessing they're talking about odor-proof container was to eliminate black market diversion. I'm not sure. Maybe you maybe they're talking about gifting, because later they say originally patients were allowed to gift cannabis to other patients. I did not know that. Miggy, thank you for the nice comment. They said, good job being on it. Only way change happens. Companies won't change unless it benefits them. Yeah. And this, yeah, exactly. Somebody else said this, and I get their point, and I completely agree. They're preaching to the choir. They said, just hear me out. What if we remove the caps on licenses, cut all fees and tax rates in half, but we incorporated all hemp under that structure? Would that satisfy all the parties in Illinois? What do you think, Matt?
Somebody's always going to bitch. But yes, that sounds pretty logical. Bring it all together. The cannabis industry doesn't survive without the hemp industry. The hemp industry doesn't survive without the cannabis industry. And I want somebody to tell me exactly what the hell am I smoking? Are you giving me THCA? Are you giving me we know the decarboxylation thing. Stop all the bullcrap. You're not putting cannabis-derived terpenes into cannabis products driven from a THC-heavy plant. You're growing a hemp low THC plant to pull those cannabis-derived terpenes out to put them into other things. You could use the hemp rope, and there's so much versatility we could do from so many other things instead of fighting over which corporations want to control the market. You're not preventing kids from buying it at a damn CBD shop because they're not walking in and getting it. Everybody's getting ID'd everywhere, and it's too much of a shell game at this point. The common sense across the board like that, put it all together. We know how to sort it out. We've already had it figured out. The legacy market, it did it for years. We let too many lawyers and corporations in to make it way too damn complicated.
Here's my ace card. Well, on the people that talk, sometimes people will send me pictures of some sketchy ass hemp product. Again, I have no qualms calling some of these products sketchy. They seem sketchy. Here's my question. Why do you not see any product like that in a dispensary? Because we have testing and labeling standards that prevent any dangerous synthetics, whatever you might want to call it, from being sold. And so my solution to anybody that's concerned about any of those things is mandate the same testing, labeling, and age gating standards. And I personally do not believe that cannabis should only be sold at dispensaries, just like alcohol and liquor are not only sold at liquor stores. I think you should be able to, at least in the state of Illinois. I know some states are different. I can go to a gas station and buy cigarettes, alcohol, basically whatever the fuck I want. Weird boner pills, shit. You can buy crazy shit at a gas station. I think the least crazy thing that you should be able to buy at a gas station is cannabis.
Honestly,
it seems like it would be the safest thing a gas station would sell between the candy, the fucking energy drinks, the gasoline itself.
Honestly and sadly, in the same fucking point, man. That's so true.
Yeah. And someone said, Miggy said, problem is federal Schedule 1. There can only be one market per state. That's what I think. We should merge it into one market, and it's funny because people will say one plant, one set of rules. I'm down with that. That's kind of what I'm proposing. I'm down with that. But what's interesting about the current state of cannabis is it's one plant, 47 or however many states have legalized, 47 different sets of rules,
and then Wisconsin, let's legalize Wisconsin.com has a program and a PDF that they're proposing different from what Evers is talking about right now. And in theirs, they want to do it pretty much the same as Missouri. It sounds like home grow, small cultivation, things like that, but they put in theirs specifically line item. They won't mess with your gun rights, your firearm rights in any way, shape, or form. Whereas in Minnesota, now make this make sense. In Minnesota, you can be a private citizen and grow your own cannabis. No questions asked. You're going to be able to go to their recreational dispensaries. They're going to have a medical program. But if you sign up for their medical program, you tell them you're using it as a medicine in the state of Minnesota, they will not approve another gun sale for you.
Right.
But I can grow my own as a recreational customer and buy all the guns I want. Why?
I think the technical, I get it's kind of like almost a rhetorical question. I was going to give you the technical answer. It's because, at least in Illinois, when you're going, from what I understand, when you purchase a firearm and you go through, you fill out your FFL and you say, no, I'm not addicted to any drugs because, or whatever that question is. I can't think of what the question is. I'll look it up here in a
Any
second.
narcotic something, yeah.
Yeah, but they put in parentheses, even cannabis applies on. It's the thing that Hunter Biden got in trouble for.
They took that out though, I think.
They did?
Even cannabis clause. They took that out. Illinois,
Okay.
it's the FOID card. You have to have a FOID card. Anybody in Illinois has to have a federal ordinance ID card to even purchase anything in Illinois as an Illinois resident.
Correct.
And those two systems didn't used to correlate. They didn't like each other. They even tagged our driver's license when we got medical cards in Illinois. They changed most of that. I don't bother with it. It's not an issue for me. So I just know about the laws and hear about them, I think in Illinois, if you can, as a cannabis patient, now apply for a FOID card, but they're notoriously slow anyway for even approving them for just men in general. I know a person who's an Illinois resident, business owner, chiropractor, and his wife, they both applied for a FOID card at the same time. She got hers approved and his waited for like well over a year.
Right. Well, and I've personally never heard, and I think even Illinois State Police made a post that you will not be prevented from getting a FOID or a concealed carry license if you have a med card. But the thing I was going to say is that if you try to make a purchase from a federally licensed firearm dealer, for lack of a better term, you will be subject to a background check. And before your background check is even sent to the feds, from what I understand, the state police can and do query the medical cannabis database, and they basically will deny your transaction based on the proof that they have. And so back to your original question, why can an adult use customer purchase cannabis and use cannabis and buy a firearm, but I as a medical cannabis patient can't? It's because they can prove using the database that you are in fact using a Schedule 1 drug, and therefore apparently you're not allowed to buy a firearm, at least from an FFL. You can still do private purchases, or what some people call the gun show loophole.
But then you're still supposed to register them. So
Correct.
Yeah.
So, hey, folks, we are about to wrap. I see some comments are coming in. Be sure to comment below. We can display your comment. Also, we've not gotten any callers yet. So if you want to call in, colememo.com/live. Let's take a look at some of these comments that have come in. Miggy said, hit the like. Yes, please smash that like button, folks, if you haven't yet. It helps. I know it feels silly, but it helps to get this show in front of the more eyes. And hopefully, like I said, my goal is to share information, keep people out of trouble, make sure we know the rules and what they are. And so if you can hit that like, that's the least you can do to make sure that this gets in front of more eyes. If you can share it with your friends, that's a big plus too. And if you can support us with $1 or $2, colememo.com/support, that definitely helps. It's not only takes my personal time, but my personal money to buy this equipment, to do these live streams and stuff. So if you can help at all, I would appreciate it. Somebody said, Illinois needs a caregiver program, which should cover gifting in all its forms. Just my opinion, but it would be a small thing that could be done to make things more equitable. I completely agree.
I would love to grow for other people.
Yeah, same. I mean, you should be able to. And I always like to bring this up. Again, this is not legal advice, but let's pull up the CRTA, which is the Cannabis Regulation and Tax Act. And so I'm going to pull it up. I'll share it. And I just want to show people this because I think that the lawmakers originally intended to allow people to grow for other people. So I'm going to look up temporarily. So I always like to show this. This is fun. And I saw a comment came in about the odor-proof container. Yes, we did talk about it earlier. I can give a brief recap again before we close the show. Drop your comments if you haven't already. We can answer them on the show. But back to this idea of caregivers and such. This isn't directly related to this person's comment because they were talking about gifting, but since you brought up being able to grow for other people, and this is one of the things I asked the state about in one of the articles that I displayed earlier, so definitely check those out at colememo.com. But There's a section in the CRTA, which again is the cannabis law for Illinois, and this is the cultivating cannabis for personal use. And they're talking about how you must be 21, you must be a medical patient, you can only grow 5 plants more than 5 inches per household, and it must take place in an enclosed locked space, all those things that you're doing. This part I've always found so interesting. Cannabis plants may only be tended by registered qualifying patients who reside at the residence or their authorized agent attending to the residence for brief periods, such as when a qualifying patient is temporarily away from the residence. Now, I asked the state about this, and authorized agent is not defined in the law. It's only mentioned twice, and it's not defined. I wish that if we could do anything, because these changes in the law, from what I've been told, again, I'm new on the block, so this is just what I've been told, just sharing information. Crossing things out and replacing it with another word is some of the easiest legislative changes you're gonna make. And if we could just cross out these 2 words, authorized agent, and replace it with caregiver, boom, problem solved. Now, obviously, it says attending to the residence for brief periods of time, such as when the qualifying patient is temporarily away. Those are really vague words. Brief periods of time, such as when the qualifying patient is temporarily away. So if I go to the grocery store, can you water my plants for me? You know what I mean? So again, this is not legal advice, but it does seem like there was some intent, because here, and this is what I always like to say, I feel like that word "or" is so strong. Cannabis plants may only be tended by the registered qualifying patients who reside at the residence, or that "or" means somebody else can grow for me.
Yeah.
I don't know who the hell they are. Apparently there's an authorized agent out there. I like to picture him like a Men in Black, like
but minion size.
yeah, a little gnome that comes in.
Yeah.
Somebody asked, did I miss any news on the odor-proof containers law? You didn't really, unfortunately. I hope to share more in the future. I'm not sure what the future holds for this. Just candidly trying to share it with you what I know. Yeah, I don't know where this stands right now.
Didn't they break that into 3 different parts? That was originally 2911, wasn't it? House Bill 2911 was odor proof, and I think they also threw in consumption a little bit with the consumption, and then they broke all 3 of them up to try to get them through this time, and it's still not going through so well.
Yeah, I believe you're correct, actually. You freaking nailed it. Last time it was in something called a cannabis omnibus, and I'm pretty sure I've not seen anybody else report on this. I'm
in a group email with somebody that keeps me updated about that.
Yeah, trying to think. I wrote about this on the show and or on my website, and I can't find it right now, which is super unfortunate. But to your point, that was in an omnibus bill in the past, and I've not seen this reported anywhere else except on my website. They the police actually voiced concerns about that, and that was ultimately removed from the language of the law. So now, like you said, it's been split into its own bill. Yeah, we'll see what the future holds for that. Like I say, though, right now I'm really not sure where things stand. I'm trying to find this article if you can't tell. Oh, here it is. If people want to read more about this, about what you just referred to, where it was in a bill in the past and it got removed, I wrote on ColeMemo.com, Illinois police and cannabis operators oppose the cannabis omnibus. And let's just watch this short clip here because it's super short. You can see where law enforcement comes up and asks that language be removed from the law.
Thank you, Peter. I'm going to invite the opposition up.
Really quick, could you hear that, what they were just saying?
I can hear it.
Okay, just making sure.
Jim Kychuk from Illinois Sheriffs.
Thank you, members of the committee, Madam Chair. Jim Kychuk on behalf of the Illinois Sheriff's Association. Really, our issue is pretty simple. It's on page 325. It's at the very end of the bill, and it's regarding the elimination of the odorless container. My understanding, though, and I don't want to speak out of turn here, but there is going to be a change to that will be reinserted. Is that, if that's correct? And that would remove our opposition.
Would that remove the opposition of the chiefs of police and everybody else?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. And Leader Lightford, you will be making that amendment?
Yes, it was an oversight.
Sounds good. And I'm assuming that amendment would go straight to the floor?
That's the goal.
Thank you.
And so right now it's just struck. We'll just
Yeah, so they struck it last time. Like you were just saying, it has been reintroduced. So, you know.
Each time they find a different thing they were finding a different thing to kill it on. Like one time the odor-proof containers killed it, and then what was it? What did GTI lobby for?
Yep, and that was
the medical patient discount. GTI
well,
killed.
It's kind of what we're talking about in this whole episode. They, according to the Illinois Cannabis Equity Coalition, which actually this is how the article starts. Green Thumb Industries, a licensed cannabis operator, was actively opposing the measure due to a provision relating to medical cannabis patients. In other words, this is kind of the whole subject we were talking about today, which is allowing medical patients to shop at any dispensary. According to CEIC, GTI lobbied against that. And then, of course, we just saw the Illinois Sheriff's Association raise concerns about the odor of cannabis. And as we started the whole show off with, if you want to read their latest comments on that, that's the top article on my website right now, and they say a lot of wild shit about it.
Well, a thing that irritates me too is we have a lot of responsible people in the world that consume cannabis. I see a lot of podcasters or content creators or even people on TikTok or Instagram or whatever the hell, people even just making inspirational videos and things like that live in apartment buildings or that live with children in their houses or their homes or live with other people that have children, and they don't have a place where they can consume cannabis in the home when it's cold out or when it's hot out. So what do? They sit in their car. These people are also not just trying to get high. These people are medicating. I don't think that any person that walks through, there's people in the world that just want to get high. The majority of the people are medicating, whether they want to just take a gummy to kill the back pain or soak in an Epsom salt bath after a podcast or smoke a joint to forget about the asshole that cut them off in traffic or the damn kids that they didn't want to deal with. Some of them are stuck going out to their car where it's the only private space for them to smoke a joint, spark a bowl, do a couple of one-hitters, and that odor is going to get stuck in that vehicle. So it's not fair to those people that don't have much of a choice or a safer place to consume it because their neighbor Sally wants to rat them out because it smells like a skunk coming around the porch.
Yeah,
That's
and
my stance.
Yeah, no, that's really well said, and I'll just briefly add to this, and then we can wrap up so you can get to your THC-infused Epsom salt bath. One person that I met at the Capitol who actually just commented, I won't point them out just in case they would like to stay anonymous, but they, first of all, kudos to them. They drove over 3.5 hours to come to this hearing last week that they ended up not even calling the bill for. So they traveled 6.5 hours. I travel, about an hour, and they didn't even call the bill. But one of the really powerful points that they shared with me was like, Cole, I don't smoke in my house. I'll smoke in my garage, and guess what's in my garage? My car. And it's like, so you could not even be smoking in your car. You could be smoking near your car, or you could have a jacket on that you wear the next day in your car. And then they're complaining about the cannabis odor, and they're saying, hey, we're going to have to detain you. We're going to have to search you. And Brandon said, it was good seeing you at the Capitol, Cole. I'm not hiding. Hell yeah.
Thank you, Brandon. I appreciate these 6 hours, brother. That's awesome.
Yeah, seriously, dude. It sucks that we weren't able to speak our piece. Brandon, I think, was prepared to speak. I was as well. And it's funny, that day, I don't think I've talked about this on the show yet. Maybe I have. I purchased a cannabis product that was just down the road. There was a dispensary down the road from the Capitol, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go in there and purchase a product. And I purchased a product, and it fucking reeked. I made sure to keep it in the bag I did not open it. I kept my receipt. And everybody, including an elected representative, was like, Cole, is that you? And I was like, yeah, my bad. Like I was just trying to prove the point that I literally went to a dispensary beforehand, bought this. And the point is, folks, if you don't know, these products are not packaged at the store. Like some people think when you go to a dispensary and you buy something that they're like filling it up in the back. No, it all comes pre-packaged, which means that the moment you buy it and get in your vehicle, you're out of compliance with the law, and the police can legally search, detain you. And if they find that product, by the way, you can be charged with Class A misdemeanor, which is what I hear people that get charged with domestic violence get, which is nuts.
Or technically, if you're an out-of-state, even an in-state resident, if you're over your daily legal allotment, recreational or medical, you could technically face felony penalties still, because that hasn't, from my knowledge, from what I understand, that still hasn't been adjusted either. In some situations, you could face federal penalties if you have an ounce instead of a half an ounce.
Yeah. Oh, it happens all the time. You know, it's crazy how low those out-of-state limits are, and people just assume in most states you're allowed to have an ounce, which I even think is silly. I think you should just be able to have as much as you want, but
yeah,
to your point, some out-of-staters say this, and Brandon says he can attest to the fact that he commented that I was smelling up the whole room with that cannabis product. I mean, like literally, we were walking back through this hallway in the Capitol, and I ran into a reporter that has been on the show in the past, and I said, "Hey, what's up? We were about to testify, but the bill didn't get called. Can you smell this?" And he was like, "Yeah." And then some person walking by us was like, "Oh my God, I was wondering where that smell was coming from." It's just hilarious. So
it's perfect.
Anyways, man, well, I want to thank you for doing what you do. I'm sorry that, people weren't receptive to you just trying to share information. Like, that's super unfortunate. Like I said, I've dealt with it in the past. Easier said than done not to take it personally, because you were doing it out of the kindness of your heart. You're like, what the fuck? This is kind of crazy that this happened. So thank you for sharing this information. And like we say, we didn't have this podcast to rag or get anybody in trouble necessarily. We're really I would just say, to cap off this episode, it seems like, okay, now we know there's no technical barrier from preventing this. We just need to make it so that this can be the case, so that this, like, you shouldn't have to drive, 2.5 hours just to go to a medical dispensary. You should be able to just go to your fucking local dispensary and use your card. Seems so silly. So, well, on that note, folks, I really hope that you enjoyed and found value in this episode of the Cole Memo. Like I said, I've got new episodes at colememo.com/Patreon. I'm planning to get back at it, so stay tuned for more episodes coming out. Somebody said crazy. I agree. And we'll see you on the next one. Take care. Have a great weekend, everybody. Bye.